what does a future for Black men look like?
I feel like it's positive. I have a very optimistic, you know, hopeful view. I view Black men, um, and I view Blackness and Black male masculinity. There's an infinite number of ways to be a Black man. You know, um, as there are stars in the sky, there are infinite number of ways to be a Black man, and I think I love and appreciate Black masculinity as it shows up everywhere. Like, I think a future for us really looks like, I think there's two things, I see us really, I want Black men, specifically Black cis het men, to really have is better relationships with Black women, um, and better relationships with Black LGBT folks.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that changing. There are days I feel like, but there are other days like I'm in a Black fatherhood group, and there was a father who wrote in the group, like, they didn't think that they could put up with, you know, their kid being gay, and saw all the numbers of men who were like, look, that's your child. You got to help them navigate the world. You got to help them be sure of themselves, because this world isn't going to love them the world isn't going to love them. So they got to at least be able to come home and feel loved by you. And just like, the number of men who came out and just were like, stop believing the hype. Like, I was surprised, because when I first saw that question, I was like, that statement, I was like, man, I do not want to read these comments. Like,
Yeah, because they come from him.
I was like, I don't even know if I want to click read the comments. But I said, you know what? Part of, part of it is you got to check in, right? You got to check in. Like, it's easy as a Black man, as especially a Black cishet man, to be like, oh, they doing something problematic, I don't gotta say nothing. But it's like, nah, you gotta jump in the fray. Like, we want to tell white folks when they end about racism, they gotta jump in and be involved. And on LGBT issues for Black folks, I gotta jump in. So I jumped in there and said, the same thing, like, be supportive. Your kid needs you. Your kid is your kid. Like, if you need to read some books, connect to some community groups, like, do that, um but it was just great. And so it gave me hope, right, that like men are finding spaces to share with each other, even the things that are problematic, bothersome, that we still got some growth. But like, and the people in there weren't like, oh, you trash for this, but we're like, you know what, brother, like, I get that's how you've been programmed to think, like, but it's 2020. Like, we gotta get it together. Right. And you gotta get it together for your kid, because your kid is gonna need you. It's hard enough being Black, right? Like, right. Black and part of the LGBT community, like, it's gonna be a hard way to go, and they're gonna need you, right? And how do you stand there and be the best father and parent for your child? And so I feel like, like, we're doing that. And I feel like we're just speaking on Black fatherhood, like, we're so much, I feel like there's just this renaissance of like, I want to know what it takes to be a good parent, right? And a willingness to like reach out to other folks to talk about that. There's so many forums over the last 5 or 6 years, and maybe I'm just noticing it because I'm a parent, but like, where men are like communicating and connecting with each other about parenthood, about fatherhood, simple stuff like, what hair products are you putting in your daughter's hair, right? Like, and coming to each other, right? Like, what's been your experience on the school PTA? Like, I'm like, yes, come through, dads. Like, come through. And so I'm just so excited that I feel like you're gonna see Black men, and we're doing a better job of pushing ourselves to just be more immersed in community, more, there for our kids, and engage with our kids in a new paradigm, around like active engagement, not just in like, I pay the bills, but also the social emotional well-being of our kids. How are we in better relationship with Black women? And I don't mean that in a romantic way, but I'm talking like in community, in a society, right? Because you can be romantically involved with Black women and not love Black women. And so to love someone, right, is wider than just a romantic context. So how are we loving Black women in our communities, engaging Black women in a healthy way. How are we engaging with Black LGBT folks in a healthy way, right? Because, like I said, you know, to quote one of my favorite gospel songs, like, we need each other to survive, right? We are not going to make it through the world without each other. We need each other, you know? Um, and we need to be able to live in a healthy community and navigate trauma and healing together, right? And make sense of it together. And so I think the future for Black men, Black masculinity is so bright, I'm optimistic, you know, and I think I'm gonna do whatever big or small part I can do to make that optimism a reality.